Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we're playing Desert Thunder. So this is one of the games that I have gotten free since I've started my YouTube channel. Basically, I got it for free either because it was free on Steam, or it was given away on the Humble store, or it was like tweeted out a code, things like that. Not things... I've never has the company given me a code because I'm a YouTube reviewer or anything like that. These were all open to the public, but because I didn't spend any money on them, I'm not very invested in them, so I'm only giving them about 30 minutes. And most of the games that I've gotten for free, the vast majority of them are not worth playing even for 30 minutes. I mean, you didn't really need to even look at them for most of them. And you just, the screenshots alone would have told me that they weren't playing. This one, in this case, is still 4:3 ratio, so you can't go up to 1080p, but it does allow you to go to 1280 by 1024. Turn the detail up. I got the difficulty on easy. Controller settings seems to be only a WASD setup, and nothing here gives me any indication that a controller will work. And this looks like it's just going to be a tank game, and that's certainly never been my bag, but let's start playing. Mission 1.
HQ, heavy resistance encountered at border. Massive casualties. Our M1A6 remains functional, but we are unsure about the others. Request intel. Over.
Commander, you're all we've got left. Reinforcements are coming from the north, but you've
So,
got to go it alone if we're going to defeat these guys.
There's several missions, about 10 of them. I suspect there aren't, these aren't extremely long missions. For 20 missions, you'd almost want each mission to be 45 minutes to an hour long, so you could get close to 20 hours of gameplay. We're going to have basic shells, high impact shells, basic rounds, and armor piercing rounds. And I don't know how any of that really works. And we're just playing as a tank. And then we have infinite cannon shells and infinite handgun shells. So left click, right click. And middle button does nothing. Neither does the mapping. And honestly, this feels like something you would see in a modern cell phone game, or maybe an iPad tablet game. Focus, low, kind of procedurally generated desert area. Certainly the skybox is bad, and it's just a basic skybox, I guess. Bad. Interestingly enough, most people don't like tank controls in games, and I think that is probably even true when playing a tank. And it's not like I have a left tread, right tread function. And I just blew up a hot dog stand. It's still backwards and forwards and left and right, which you don't turn treads. You turn by speeding up or decelerating or even reversing one tread while going the opposite direction in the other, or the different speed on the other. It's pretty empty right now. So if this whole plan is just to have the player learn where they're supposed to go, doesn't look like there's too much of a destroyable environment, but that being said, you can just seem to drive right over enemy lines. And I'm shooting down people. Let's see how much of an explosion there is. And these elements here explode, but the bunkers don't. Interesting. Tanks explode. That'll explode. I've played another game I got for free that was a helicopter game. Seemed like it was several years younger than this. This seems like, well, honestly, this could have come out this year and just be really a low quality development, or it could have come out 5 years ago and still have been a low quality development, but with more effort put into it. I don't know of any way a game would convince me to like a tank game. There have been missions in first-person shooters where you're riding in a tank, and sometimes you control a tank. Here we can see some visual glitches of the textures not loading in because the textures are at an odd angle of what was expected. It doesn't feel like I'm getting points or anything for killing people. Gruesomeness for really no reason there. And I can't get that collectible. Seems like we might be fighting Chinese. Seems like that's what that star was. Red star. But we're in this other area. Let's see, you can't really zoom in. Let's see, if I roll the scroll wheel to this, I'll use the other cannon. But I don't know how you switch the other weapons. Let's see. Q changes this, so I bet this is the armor-piercing bullets. So Q and E, the right buttons for right next to a WASD controller, but yeah, control support certainly would be appreciated in this. Trying to race with such a clunky device is not interesting to me. Playing military games in general aren't interesting to me. If you were going to try to do something, I think I would prefer to start a tank game going through tank driving training and an obstacle course, and not just start in an action sequence like this where you're just firing on the turret. I suppose the idea of something like this is that it is a 3D environment version of some of the arcade games and 2D games of the 1980s, but like honestly, those games by modern standards aren't that good or desirable. And while video games do often thrive in the language of violence, the military ones have not as much appeal as you would think. Sure, Call of Duty and all the most popular shooters are set in a militaristic environment, but really it's you don't act as a military person would normally act, following orders and following procedures. You act as a lone gunman, often just running around and doing incredibly dangerous things that would have gotten a squad killed. It's really just on the facade. And the only reason why a lot of shooters are militaristic in their nature is because it was an easy way to not have to make a set a game in the future and invent new guns, or allows you to set it in the past and have a almost universally hated enemy in the World War II Nazi era. Like, that has worldwide appeal. Now, the Japanese in the past 15 years, I would say, have developed some infatuation with tanks in a few games, but they often put them in fantasy worlds or turn the tank drivers into anime super magical girls or something like that. So they put a spin in it that makes it a little strange. There's literally nothing here though, as far as this game. It's just driving around from point A to point B to point C. No alternative paths. I'm not seeing any places where I could really get horribly stuck. This really just does kind of feel like a race while under fire. And that's all I really would have needed to do is just find the points to attack and go. For me, this doesn't feel like I'm doing anything amazing, but the implication, I think, is that I probably am. And this lone tank is saving the day, taking on all of the enemies. But my health, as far as armor, is really, really high. This is far, far from what what you would expect compared to like Doom, where you have Doom guy running around and gaining armor and guns and weapons and taking on massive enemies. I think that's a pretty fair comparison. This is a game that's trying to do something similar without like locked-in levels, because you really can't have locked-in levels with the tank, and without any secrets that so far I can see. There's way too many pickups here, and there's no story after that intro. No conversation, no interaction. We could definitely use a partner, somebody working with us, to tell us, you're doing a good job, keep it up, we're almost there, you've done it, congratulations, watch your six, all those things, cliche things. Apparently I hit a mine, now I'm down to 41%. A lot of mines. Mission complete, congratulations. Well, that was bland as all can get out.
The border gates are dust. Awaiting orders. Over.
Good work.
And you are just moving up the map. So it's one giant map, which tells you there's really no need to go back. Like, there's no reason to go to this mission thing. It should just have been played over the audio as a fully immersive experience. But this is going to be a night mission, and this looks awful. And they want me to destroy oil refineries. And so, I think in that instance, I just have to actually follow the oil tanks. This is exactly the same as what we did before. Drive around. Like, I would want this to be a lot more fast-paced. Hitting mines instead of... I don't think mines... Like, anti-tank mines, okay, I guess that's what they are. Let's see, this looks like a mine, this looks like a mine, and I'm shooting right next to them, and you can't even destroy them, so no anti-tank mine. And just some things you can't destroy, and or run over. Some things you can. Armor repair. That was one down. And my turret can only go so far, so you can't turn backwards. What are you supposed to do with the mines? Just avoid them, I guess. I guess that's all it's implying. Is that you just have to avoid the mines. Explosive tip around. That seems pretty useful. And there's only one kind of armor repair to pick up. Apparently. And I don't know where I'm supposed to be going. Like, we got up to this point. And every indication tells me we're supposed to go this way. And then you go this way. I guess you were supposed to go this way. So the map is pretty useless in the lower left-hand corner. The always on screen weapon selector in the lower right corner is fine, but it's also kind of in the wrong place. There's too much of the screen is being taken up with different indicators. The compass in the middle, for example, could be in the well, the compass in the middle probably should be in the top center. The map should probably be in the top right. The armor, bullets that are selected, and everything else could be streamlined into much smaller strips of an icon and in the lower right. And then that would have left the top left and the lower left empty, so you just have more screen space. We reached a waypoint. Is it possible to reach a waypoint and not finish the mission? I bet it is. Yeah, it doesn't seem like when you get a checkpoint that you get any kind of increase in armor or anything. There's a guy riding on top of the tank instead of being run over by the tank. I'm at 20% health. Music is dull and repetitive. We're at 1% and we died because of mines. And now we're at a checkpoint at 100%, and so it doesn't even matter if you die because you're just reset. I have a problem with this type of game in particular because what are they even doing? Like, from day one, from the beginning, saying I'm going to create a game where you drive a tank is just like a bad idea, and it screams incompetence in knowing what people want in their video game. There's no element inside other video games where you're gonna want to start by making a tank simulator game. Like, this is really just something that shouldn't exist at all. I'm driving all over the mines, getting to the next checkpoint. You literally, in my mind, I can't think of anywhere you can go that's good from this beginning point. You're, regardless of what year a game like this is created, the only thing that's going to change is the graphics might be slightly better, but at the expense. Oh, there is a 50% armor repair. So there's 10% and 50%. Like, graphics may be a little bit better, but the gameplay is still going to be unwelcome and sucky. Like, that's why half of the games that are Japanese games focused around tanks, you still end up playing as an RPG or a turn-based system. You don't need a 3D simulator. Maybe these people that make these games are military contractors. Maybe that's the deal. I mean, the United States spends a lot of money with they give a lot of money to military contractors to make and purchase tanks that the military itself has said they don't need, because tank warfare is World War II style tank warfare, and it's not what you do in modern conflict. Modern conflict is guerrilla warfare with insurgencies and battles taking place in the middle of city streets where you can't really drive a tank. And so we have so many tanks around extra in the United States that now the police are starting to buy tanks from the army. So and the police are barely using the tanks either. They're often just taking them to elementary schools and showing them to the little kids to play on, which is just a huge waste of resources. Incomplete. Tanks as a military vehicle suck in the real world, and they suck in video games. And I hate to just fall down to saying something so simplistic and not having any more intelligent critique or review, but there really isn't anything to say that I can think of. It's bad. The graphics are bad. The controls are awful. There's no interaction. There's no story to really speak of. There's some things apparently take a couple shots to blow them up, or perhaps you can't blow them up at all. Seems like that's something that can't be blown up at all. You can stand back and just fire and line things up, which isn't a great experience. And let's just go back to the menu. I don't need to put another 5 minutes into this game to say it's bad. It's bad. I don't know if there would ever be a tank game I'd want to play. It kind of in the same way, I don't know if I'd ever want to play a mecha game where you're actually having to push hundreds of buttons and controls to control a robotic humanoid robot, commonly known as a mecha. Just not a game for a normal video game player, honestly. You have to be pretty helpful. There is an article I read once that said if you have soldiers with PTSD play video games with terrible graphics, that it allows them to relive their experiences and their traumatic experiences and deal with them in a safe environment. And so then they slowly turn the graphics from the worst possible graphics of blurriness into more and more realistic graphics so that they can work their way into it. That's not what this game is for, almost certainly, but I mean, that might be the only person who would want to play something like this. I don't even think so. I feel like you'd probably traumatize you more playing such an awful game. And it's not awful for any specific reason, it's just kind of missing everything. Anything that you would want to have in a game. It's slow, clunky, bad graphics, no story, no audio worth mentioning that's any good, no real tutorial. We used basically the same weapons for the first 2 of 20 missions. Even if you really did like this game, you're gonna run out of time very quickly. Yeah. I guess I could go on, but there really is no reason. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.